Hmm. What's going on, people? What's going on? Because of where I work, I was told to stay away from this particular issue, but it just wouldn't be right if I didn't say anything about it. You know, maybe it would. I don't know, but let's jump into what it is. Today, the Court earlier on, Supreme Court warily eyes California law involving abortion and free speech. A judge temporarily blocks 15-week abortion ban in Mississippi. And that's something that I just really, I don't know. It's just something I really just thought about, as I was looking at it, when it comes to abortion. Thank you, Justice Hambricks. Appreciate you. You know, I don't know. I'm making an attempt to talk about something that probably, I shouldn't talk about. They didn't want me to talk about this abortion, and I guess the pro-lifers, the pro-choice and whatnot. What's going on, Whitney? You know, I don't know if anybody's been following the Supreme Court and that whole discussion that's going on out there, with the Supreme Court and whatnot. You know, the news outlets have been supporting it. There's been rallies. There's been all kind of crazy stuff. What up, tech support? No, no, no tech support. Me just having a conversation. Me just talking right now. You know, and I'm looking out there, and it's a complex issue. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? It's a California law that requires crisis pregnancy centers to provide information about abortion. Hmm. Ah, well, it met a skeptical reception at the Supreme Court arguments on Tuesday. The centers, which are often affiliated with religious groups, seek to persuade women to carry their pregnancies to term or to offer their offspring for adoption. The law requires centers licensed by the state to post notices that free or low cost abortion, contraception, and parental care are available to low income women through public programs and to provide the phone number for more information. Justices across the ideological spectrum said that they suspect that the law has singled out centers run by opponents of abortion. Hmm. Okay, what is this about? You have a law out there saying that there should be, you know, that option provided to women to know, okay, that they have the option to do abortion. There are proponents on the other side that are saying that, hey, look, you should carry it to term. This is something that it's really a hot issue because, like I said, especially as a man, I don't try to jump into it and say, a woman should or shouldn't, you know, have the baby or do what it is as it pertains to that. It's really a dicey issue because I guess only really a woman can speak on that, as far as, what she will and won't do with her body. I just look at it and I say to myself, because I've had, situations, involving some stuff, some things like that, where somebody had abortions and stuff like that, and it's not an easy thing to tackle. Who's right, who's wrong, when it comes to abortion. On one side, the religious folks feel like they're right. On the other side, the pro-lifers feel like they're right. The pro-lifers, the pro-choice feel like they're right. And it's just a divisive issue all the way down the line. Yeah, Black Thoughts, this is a very touchy issue. It's a very slippery slope. That's why I have to be careful how I approach this and how I talk about it. But it's a hot button issue. Like I said, who's right, who's wrong? Is a woman's right to choose to be respected? Is a life in the womb to be respected as well? What's going on, Big Ten, 1982? I've been all right. I've been all right. Right now, I'm just kind of like tight roping into a sensitive subject, but it is a slippery slope, like Black Thoughts, Buck's Thoughts said, and Slayer. Yeah, this is a major, deep subject, but the reality is something that affects us all, whether you believe it or not, and whether you think it's an issue or not. Abortion does affect, women, whether they're on either side of the issue, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. Abortion changes things. I mean, whether you're somebody in a relationship that may, be a man, who doesn't really care either one way, whether or not the woman has the abortion, or whether you come from a religious standpoint where you believe that, the life should be carried all the way through, you know, is to be said. I mean, I guess everybody has their own personal opinions and convictions, as it pertains to abortion, but it's not an issue that's just easily going to go away, and for some people, they choose not to deal with it. They choose to let it be, but there are women out there, regardless of what side they're on, who have been affected by it. Victory Leo says, in my opinion, other people who can't have kids would love to have that kid. Yes, they would, but at the same time, there are people that argue that a woman's rights should be respected because it's her body. So, even if you agree or don't, whether you agree or you don't agree with that woman, the woman is exercising the choice for her to say, you know what, I don't want to keep this child, depending on the circumstances or how the child came about. And it's a touchy issue because I know from the religious standpoint, there are people that believe that it's murder. I'm saying it's a murder to decide, to take a life and, not to, carry out their pregnancy because, that child has no say so in the matter, which is true. Once you do that, the child, whether you believe it's a murder or not, has no say so, when it comes to that. But you have to take into consideration of her life. Exactly. Well, but that's what some people say, you get into it and they say, well, you should have thought of that before you had sex. And it is a touchy subject. It's really one of those things where it's not no easy answer. It's not no straight up, down the line answer, because you could say you're on one side, but then what happens if it's a situation where somebody was, you know, molested or something like that? And I gotta mark this. So I'm saying this is a deep conversation. I'm gonna have to mark this 18 and older. Yeah, yeah. You can make a statement. Make a statement, Slayer. I should have marked this 18 and older. What's up? What's going on, brother? Speak your mind. You know, um, I don't know. I just seen what was in the news, and like I said, I'll just try to tightrope the situation because, like I said, I know it's a touchy subject, and I know there's people that may not want me to talk about it and speak on it just because of where I work and where I'm from. There's some folks that be like, "Hey, you shouldn't talk about this. You shouldn't get into it." But there are people out there who have, this issue that has affected them. There's an issue that has affected me. Like I said, so it's not something that just goes away. It doesn't just disappear. People may not deal with it as much because, like I said, there's other issues going on, with inequality and, just all kind of other injustices, racial issues and things like that are happening. So, you kind of find yourself, distracted about other things. Thank you. I appreciate that victory, Leo. Thank you. What's going on, Llama Monster? But like I said, I would like to know what the females think about it as far as when it comes to abortion and, the pro-lifers and the people that feel like, they're pro-choice, whatever it is. I mean, I'd like to know the females' thoughts on abortions and, a woman's right to choose or, the other aspect of it of, the life in the womb and stuff like that. It could be a rough thing for a woman to say, you know what, look, I'm going to have this baby and, I'm going to give it up for adoption even though I don't want it. So it is a complicated thing. What's going on, Size Dad? Thank you for coming through. I appreciate you. And and to anybody that doesn't want to have this conversation or doesn't want to listen to what I have to say on this matter, I understand. I totally understand. This is not an easy issue to talk about. It's not even an easy thing to bring up, because it is such a touchy issue. It's a slippery slope as it pertains to, a woman's right to choose versus the pro-life, aspect of it. If you continue to the biblical standpoint, when a man is ready to climax, it doesn't come from a childhood. Some people say that. Some people do say that and would suggest that as well. That's one way of looking at it. If you want to talk about a religious context on that particular comment that you just made, Slayer, then there's the spirit of the law, and there's the letter of the law. So that's one of the things that happens too. And it does become more of an issue for those folks that are religious, as it pertains to abortion, because what happens when it's something that you did and it's against your religion, and you do have people that ostracize you in your community, in your family. Sometimes that's a deeper issue to deal with. Sometimes, by somebody choosing to go through with an abortion, depending on their religious background, they can wind up losing the baby. They can wind up losing the access to their family, their religion, their community. They could be ostracized. So it's not an easy issue to tackle. And even though on the other side, from when I talk to different people, who are pro-choice, people have to understand that just because a woman chooses to have an abortion doesn't mean it's an easy thing to go through. Doesn't mean it's an easy thing to tackle. Doesn't mean it's just, okay, you aborted the baby and that's that. Um, it's just it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, how do you really, deal with this particular issue, in the best possible way. And sometimes there's really no clear cut answer. There's really no easy answer to the situation. You could take one side, but then, like you said, what happens if it's under special circumstances that this was, this child was conceived. It's solely the decision on the mother. Yeah, a lot of people do believe that, Slayer. But then when it comes to a religious standpoint, people believe that, the child did not have a chance of say in the matter to choose. And there's a point to that. You never know who that child is going to become as long as she's competent. Well, you know, I mean, who knows? What's up, Drone Wolf Media? This is, like I said, this is a sensitive topic subject, so I understand if people don't really want to hear this or talk about this or give an opinion on this. This is not easy to talk about, but I try not to shy away from, the weightier matters. I'm trying to talk about this in a respectful way, because basically, it is something that has affected, many people, many homes, many societies and whatnot. So it's like it's something that's not just going to go away, but it is a part of the fabric of society. It's a part of what people have to go through, what women have to go through, because any of us can come from a standpoint or the outside looking in. And I say this, that nobody knows exactly what a woman is going through as it pertains to abortion, except for that woman. Be it from a religious standpoint, be it from a pro-choice standpoint, whatever the case may be. Nobody knows exactly but those women that actually go through, an abortion, or a woman that chooses not to go through an abortion. Think about how many babies, who have basically, been, I guess, been lost, or how many lives have been lost because folks tried, decided not to go through with that. You wonder, you think to yourself, what could have those children become? And then there's those people, who change their mind at the last minute, and, you have the child, and, it becomes, what the child becomes, so it's one of those things you never really know. You never really know. I mean, I guess only a woman, the woman can really speak to it. Take religion out of it. We as men need to understand and support women's views no matter what it is. Yeah, yeah, but the religious aspect is a strong focus. It's a strong focal point that will never go away. I mean, we could say take the religion out of it, but then there's people, who feel strongly about, a child's right to live. Even if you're not religious, you don't have to say that, you're pro-life. You can literally be pro-life and not be religious. That's the myth that many people have as it pertains to, abortion and all that comes with it. People think that the pro-life people are only the religious. There are many people out here that, who may not even be religious at all, who believe in a child's right to live, a child's right to a future, a chance, so that's that too. So if we respect one side of it, then it's at least important to understand and see the other side. I mean, what I'm making an attempt to do is just look at this objectively. So, I objectively try to look at both sides. Both sides have a point, but, at one point, at any juncture, both sides, I guess, wants to gain ground. I think the thing that I can come through with it and at my piece is that it gets divisive and it gets destructive when people tend to take lives from it. If anybody remembers the whole Timothy McVeigh situation, and the Oklahoma, bombing and whatever, and that was an abortion clinic. So when you're taking it to that level and you go into that form of injustice, done because of a difference of opinions, then that's when it really becomes something that's just not feasible to mankind, or not even a civil discourse that we can have. You know what I mean? So that's kind of crazy when it comes to that point. You know. But then why they say when a child becomes a child, moment of conception, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months. Well, listen, Drone Wolf, I don't know. I don't pretend to know, when a child, becomes a child. Some people say from the moment of conception that, a life is a life. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not extremely religious. I'm not a priest, anything like that, or, a preacher, nothing like that. I really couldn't tell you. All I can say is that where I stand with it and how I approach it is to say, we should be able to have a civil discourse on it, and talk about it. But the reality is, without hurting each other, without coming to blows over it. But where I come from with it is this: regardless of what side you stand on this issue, the ones that really have to go through it are the women, who are in these situations. I mean, those are the ones that really have to face this, because as men or people making decisions outside of what these women are doing, those are the ones who are really faced with, what's to come. Because what happens, when a woman made a bad decision, she chose a bad mate or something like that. You had a one night stand or fling with somebody who was a jerk. I mean, what do you do at that point? So it really does become a situation where you really have to understand and know where you're coming from, with that particular situation. But we can't know, what I'm saying, unless you really, been in these women's shoes. It's easy to sit outside of the situation and say what a person should and shouldn't do, but until you've actually experienced it, then it really hits home and resonates and whatnot. Like I said, maybe there are situations when, a woman shouldn't get an abortion. Maybe there are situations, when a woman should. I don't know. I'm not a woman. I can't pretend to know that situation. I mean, religiously, there's an aspect when, life shouldn't be played with. And, it is something that, from the moment of conception, it is a serious thing. Life starts to grow and, things happen. I pretend not to know the exact moment of when it happens, but it's still a choice. I mean, and it's still a life altering thing, whether you believe in the spiritual or religious part of it or not. Because, I've seen women and I've known of women who've had an abortion and they've been changed by it. Size that says, yes, no matter what, it's this woman's decision and we should support them in that decision. I think it's up to the woman. Ultimately, she's the one who has to live with it in the end. Well, I can definitely agree with you on this Drone Wolf Media. Regardless of anything, the woman has to live with it in the end. And I think that regardless of what side a woman stands on, I still don't think it's an easy decision for a woman to make, whether to do it, whether not to do it. I still think it's a situation to where, if a woman chooses to do that, I don't, I'm not saying to be celebrated for it, but to be vilified for it and taken down, it's crazy. But on the other side, to not, admit to, the life that could have been or what was taken away, I think that's an interest, that's a point to be said as well. What's going on, Crimson Fantasy? I'm actually just talking about a Supreme Court decision from a California law involving an abortion and free speech, and it's a hot topic of debate. It's something that's really in the sphere or the mode of consciousness right now in the country, in America here. And it's an issue that's not going to go away after this live stream. It's an issue that's not going to go away after today. It's not an issue that's just going to easily be thrown away. It's not an issue that just disappears, because there's something to be said about a woman having choice, but there's also something to be said about that life that has no choice. And it's about understanding each other and trying to come to a common ground. And some people just want what they want no matter what. That's the reality of it. I mean, let's say I come with the best religious argument and, I got Jesus from the heavens coming down to speak on it and say his piece and, letting people know, or, let it be known in any, religious prefix possible. It still comes down to the fact that it's between that woman and the choice that she made, whether she made the right choice or whether she made the wrong choice. So, where's the counseling? Where's the support? I think for either position, a woman needs to be supported. Thank you, Size Dad. I appreciate you for coming through. And like I said, I'm not going to make this a long conversation, but it's something that was just on my mind. It's true. It's not a clear-cut decision. I agree, but men have a bit of a say-so into it. Well, as far as a man's say-so in it, if you want to talk about that, a man should have a say-so in it. But there a woman out there who believes that it's solely the woman's decision to do that, and that's a whole other topic of discussion in and of itself. I believe that it's wrong if you're in a committed relationship to go out there and just have an abortion if the man is really willing to take care of the child. But if it's a situation where you're out there and a single mother and you're gonna do it on your own, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. I would rather it not happen. That's just my personal opinion. I would rather it not happen, but at the same time, I'm not that woman that's gonna carry this child and put it up for abortion. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, that's a different conversation. That's a different struggle that a person is going through. That's a different situation that I don't know. I couldn't even fathom. What a woman has to go through when she's deliberating abortion or not. Like I said, I can only come from a standpoint on the outside looking in. I can only, see it as a spectator. I can only see it as an observer. Even if I'm in a relationship with somebody who does that, particular act, I'm still somebody on the outside looking in, you know, and all I could do is wonder about what if, and maybe this could have happened or maybe that should have happened, So, I mean, I've had, a situation like that happen with me. So, you ask yourself and you wonder, what would have been, like I said, what type of father you would have been or what type of mother or whatever the case may be. So it is a complex and complicated issue. There's no clear cut answer, even when it seems like it is. Crimson Fantasy, as long as it's not the coat hanger method. Yeah, I'm not going there with that. I'm not going there with that. Yeah, Crimson, that's not this type of live stream, bro. Nah, not this. I can't even go there with that. I think it's solely the woman's decision. I'll be happy to provide my input as a potential father, but in my opinion, it's the woman's body that ultimately her choice. Hello, Drive Shaft Drew. This is a deep conversation that I'm not going to push on too long. And I get if folks came in and jumped out or whatever, who knows? Maybe I'll get in trouble for talking about this. Maybe I won't. I try to come at it from the most objective way that I could. Yeah, nah, Crimson Fantasy. I can't make light of that. That way that could get now that what you said in there could actually get me in a lot of trouble what you just said. So that's why I can't support that last comment, so I'm gonna leave that one alone. But for the most part, you know um nah, it is no clear cut way to go about that and really deal with that. But I know this is a situation that's not going away anytime soon here in America or anywhere for that matter. What's going on, Paint Kisses? Thank you for coming through. But like I said, as it pertains to abortion and a woman's right to choose or the pro-life people, there's a lot of conversation and dialogue that needs to be had, and just some civility that needs to happen between the two sides. Of course, people will feel strongly about whether they feel that a woman should or shouldn't. There are different views on the moment of conception, the moment that a life is conceived. I know there's moments on I know there's a view on a woman's body and her right to be able to choose to do that. And believe me, I get the sides. I see it on both sides. What I hope with the situation, about abortion and as far as the debate, and the philosophies of ideology in this country or anywhere for that matter, I hope that both sides can come together and actually begin to understand each other and to see each other, see where folks are coming from. I don't believe in abortion, but I'm not going outside of Planned Parenthood and then say someone who doesn't know about it. Yeah, well, there's some people who have resorted to destructive means. There's some people who have resorted to trying to harm those folks who have, sought out abortion and whatnot. And that's what I'm against. I'm against anybody being harmed because of the decisions that they've made. That's not godly. That's not religious. That's not the way to go. And vice versa, harming anybody because, religiously they feel, a particular type of way and they want to stop it. So I think that's when we lose sight of, what it's all about, as far as humanity is concerned. I think we should see each other eye to eye. We first, listen to understand, then to be understood, because it is a deep issue. There's no clear cut issue. There's no real easy way to answer that question. Some people think it is, but like I said, you never know somebody's circumstances and what they may be facing and how, that pregnancy may have come about. There's those, a whole myriad of ways, things could have happened, so, you try to be understanding regardless of what a person does. You try to, see it from an objective point of view. I believe both parties are willing that at this exception, there should be no abortions. Um, yeah, you can say that, drive shaft, but the reality is like it says, there's people who feel differently because if both parents agree, and let's say both parents agree to keep the child, then that's cool. That's great. And then one wants to give it up for an abortion, I mean, for adoption, and the other doesn't. Then there's issues there. Then if you have one parent who believes in abortion and another one who's pro-life, there's an issue there. So it it gets dicey. But I think regardless of what the situation is, we begin by trying to deal with it in a civil manner. We try to begin to just understand each other if you want to be real about it. You know, I think people who protest outside Planned Parenthood are entitled to do that, but when it becomes violent or demeaning the days of women, this will draw the line. Well, yeah, I agree with you on that, Drone Wolf Media. I mean, people, want to protest and do their thing. We in this country we have a right to protest. And that's particularly what that is. Me personally, I would like to see no children be aborted, but at the end of the day, I can't stop all that from happening. I would love to see all children, be born and at least have a chance, regardless of the circumstances. But I know also on the flip side, for whatever reason, or whatever convictions people have, it's not easy. And I understand the people who are pro-life, as to say, that from the moment of conception, whatever weeks that is, or moment that seed is formed, there's a life, that's there. So it's something on both sides. Both sides has something to say, have a point, and I just hope that in this country that both sides at some point can come together in a civil way. I think we need to get back to being responsible humans as a whole. Yes, I agree. I agree that the dialogue should become more responsible and less divisive. That's one of the problems that I have with the whole debate and the conversation is that regardless of what side you stand on of abortion, or any other right, any other thing, gun rights or racism or whatever the case may be, there's a civility that we lack in society. There's a civility that's missing. Because if somebody decides that they want to go out there and have an abortion, or somebody decides that they want to go out there and give their child up for adoption and be pro-life and keep the child, there should be a way to talk about this and come together and not vilify each other and tear each other down and dehumanize each other, regardless of what it is, because some people get vilified for their religious beliefs on the matter. Some people are seen to be, overzealous about it or controlling or manipulative. And on the flip side, there's the religious people saying that their freedom of speech is being taken away and their right to believe. And, it gets into the religious issues of the matter. So like I said, this is a complex issue, based in, a lot of ideology, emotions, feelings, just, political points of view that come about in this thing. And we get nowhere if we just speak amiss, if we just speak in the wind and not hear each other and then do things to hurt each other. So it's really one of those things where, like I said, maybe I'm pie in the sky, maybe I'm, naive about the situation, but I really hope and pray that, folks are able to come to the table or come to some kind of consensus on, how folks can, manage this thing about abortion. And the reality is that we may not, but this is an attempt to say that civil conversation, a civil discourse is needed on this particular issue, and as well as many other issues, that exist in this country, that exist in society, and this is just my part. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody, or put myself in hot water with any folks. I appreciate everybody for coming through, for just giving their input. I'm surprised that I actually have 3 people still watching. I'm surprised that I have 8 thumbs up for this conversation because, like I said, this is not an easy conversation to have. I'm glad that it hasn't been divisive or anything like that. Thank you, Drone Wolf of Media. Thank you. I appreciate it. This was a interesting topic for discussion, but I didn't know if I would be able to pull this off. And like I said, I'm about to, I'm about to call it a wrap. But definitely, 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 I hope that moving forward, that as far as it pertains to abortion, that people on both sides are able to have a civil discourse about this because it is not an easy issue to deal with, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. it is something to, understand each other on and really come through and see each other as human beings, if anything,. So on that note, thank you for watching. And again, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.